Hello everyone. So obviously coming into the summertime, a lot of Irish people particularly go off to Spain and Portugal. And in my case, you usually go off to Finland. Why wouldn't you? You go to the most random place imaginable. Because the majority of Irish people like going where the sun is. Usually they don't go where the winter is. But long story short, there is a shortage, and there is a shortage as we speak of jet fuel around the world. Now we see Ryanair. Obviously, Ryanair is the low cost airline known as basically Michael Leary throw anybody onto a plane, basically make them stand up if you had to. But long story short, only having to the end of May, and of course this is April. The end of May, he said last month that he only had until the end of May or so of jet fuel left, and of course Ryanair won't be able to fly if they don't have the jet fuel, regardless of the tickets of 1 year or whatever they are. They're not going to fly. I suppose that with enough jet fuel. And I'm taking Zappa too, just in the last day or two, Aer Lingus has cancelled 500 flights, which is a lot, 500 people, 500 flights. God knows how many people, that could be 10,000, could be 20,000, could be 30,000 people affected, just by them 500 flights being cancelled. Now, a lot of them out to America and to other places too. But you know what I'm saying, and of course Aer Lingus too probably only has maybe another few months too of jet fuel, and of course that's the same for Finnair, for nearly every airline in Europe, that nearly every airline has about a month, maybe 5 at most in some cases, of jet fuel left. And of course, they're not getting really any jet fuel because of the war in Iran, etc., and the Strait of Hormuz. But of course, there's going to be huge effects on Ireland, particularly because whatever about Europe, Central Europe, etc., Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium, etc., countries that are attached to each other, you might have not have noticed, but Ireland is an island, the same as the United Kingdom too, and we rely on kind of stuff to be imported in a lot of cases. And of course, for people that travel and stuff, you say, for example, to far ends of Europe, take, for example, if they're going to Bulgaria or to Romania or to Slovakia or Italy, take, for example, of course, they wouldn't take a boat. A boat would take literally a few weeks to get all the way around there, from Ireland to to the Mediterranean. There is boats, of course, but what I'm trying to say, the most efficient way of getting goods is by airplane into Ireland, cargo planes. And of course, without jet fuel, they can't fly, and of course, there's going to be a shortage of goods. And of course, it's going to put the cost up too, because why not? But this is the thing, even for tourism, because obviously Ireland too is a lot of people do come here as tourists, particularly from the United States. They pay thousands a year to come here, and again, they could get stabbed in the street because that's the way Ireland has gone. But take for example, so many people have come here for St. Patrick's Day. They pay thousands a year to come here for St. Patrick's Day, and they couldn't find an Irish person. But that's another story for a different day, I suppose. But this is the next thing, that obviously there is people still coming in. It's not as many as they used to, of course, because of the cost and how unsafe Ireland is at the moment to bring anybody here. Anybody really come here at the moment to be told that they're taking life into their own hands, and that's to be generally honest. I'm not saying that lightly. That the country's a mess with crime, especially Dublin and stuff, and particularly tourists are preyed upon by these gangs, etc. And the state pretty much sits back and does nothing, and lets people come in from Timbuktu that we have to pay for, etc. But they won't let in tourists that are paying their way. It doesn't make any sense, but logic doesn't exist. But what I'm trying to say is, of course, that's going to hurt the industry in terms of the airline industry, of course. But hotels, people that rely on tourism, hotels, other places like that too, Airbnbs, other corporations like that too. Take for example, hop on buses in Dublin to be affected, because there's not many local people to go on them. It's more tourists, and then other places that are designed for tourists, type of bar, even though it's a scam place, but even though they're designed for tourists, and other places too around the city that are designed for tourism. Even in Ireland, tourist attractions, the Cliffs of Moher, etc. Majority of people go into that are tourists, and there's a lot of tourist shops, etc. around that area. But without anybody going, of course, they're not going to make much money, because unless there's only the odd Irish person going from the other side of the country. But they won't make make huge amount of money, and of course that's going to affect the revenue of the state. That's going to affect people's jobs. It will affect people's jobs. It depends how long it goes on for, but definitely, what we're looking at the moment, because we're going into the end of April now, that pretty much probably Ryanair won't have any fuel by the end of May, as far as I can gather. And it doesn't look like that's going to change, because they're not going to magic 500,000 litres of fuel in 5 minutes. It's going to take time, regardless, even if it was ended tomorrow. If there was tomorrow's the end of the ceasefire. Hopefully it continues, but we don't know, to be honest. We just simply don't know. But the jet fuel is going to affect Ireland more than, say, the other parts of Europe, because obviously Ireland has no apart from shipping connections, of course. But for a ship to go from France to Ireland, it takes time. It's not as obviously as long as it used to be, but still it takes time. But say for example, we're getting goods from, as I say, Italy, take a longer time compared to France or England. But if things were coming from far ends of Europe, we wouldn't get things, and there would be a shortage and stuff. Of course, the price would go up too. But of course, the government never prepared for something like this, and we should have have our own oil reserves anyway, because we do have it off the coast of Ireland. We should be tapping into some of that, but we won't because the environment, But it's okay for big data centers and stuff. Makes sense. They use up half the electricity of the country, but it makes sense to keep them open. But yeah. It's really worrying, especially for a lot of Irish people, because a lot of people have their holidays booked. I know so many people who have their holidays booked for June and July when they get off for a few weeks in the summer when the children are off school too. They go off on a nice holiday, maybe for a week to Spain or a few days to Spain or Portugal. They get the sun and stuff. But unfortunately, they don't know, and I know many people like that too. They're sitting here saying, would I be able to get on holidays? Even though they have it paid for and everything, they're like to themselves, am I going to even get onto the plane? Because the plane might not even go. There might be no few of them on the plane. And that's really concerning when you see that. It's really, really concerning because these people have already paid for their flights. And it's all because of Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu with the agenda, to be totally honest, what they're up to. But it's really worrying for the state, the Irish state, and the Irish people too. And it's worrying too, because we want tourists, Irish people want tourists to come here and enjoy themselves and all, and they came here to Fortra, as I say. But unfortunately it's not that safe. I wouldn't advise any tourists to come even if you had the money. But the fuel shortage too will affect Ireland, because obviously Ireland too is a stop-off place in a lot of cases. There's a lot of planes that come from, say, Australia to the Middle East, then to Ireland before going on to the United States, or going on to Canada or to Mexico. They have a stopover in Ireland for a few hours and then go on to the North America or South America in some cases too. But anyway, let me know what you think. Did you book your holiday? Just curious, and you don't have to tell me much details. But did you book a holiday? What's the story? Are you going to go away this year? What's the story? Let me know. Because a lot of people are maybe not going to go in. A lot of people probably go locally in this time. Go maybe, if say for example, a person wanted to go on holiday, to go to Donegal or to go to in Cavan, for example, would probably go to Donegal or somewhere along the coast, the west coast. So it might help tourism in that regard, but there'll be no foreign tourists coming in. But hopefully things will work out. But at the moment in time where I'm sitting here, it doesn't look like there's going to be something sort of at the end of May. So at least at the most, a good lot of airlines will be probably grounded at most. And of course, the tickets that are left will be thousands of euro probably, because there'll be only a few planes at most. Let me know what you think. Subscribe for more. Bye.